Have you ever pictured yourself in the Victorian era, with astonishing dresses, enormous palaces, and unique hairstyles? If so, I should warn you that only less than 15% of the population of that time had that economic privilege. However, even if you did, gender roles would destroy the fairy tales expectations anyone had, especially if you were a woman. From my perspective, extravagant clothes don't compensate for free will. At the time, women were expected to have kids. In reality, that wasn't really an option. Keep in mind that the risk of passing away from childbirth at the time was 5%. This may sound low. Nevertheless, it means that 1 out of every 200 women died in or as a consequence of childbirth, according to Undefining Motherhood site. Consider as well that an average family had at least 2 kids. As if it weren't enough, there was a desired gender, male gender. Women that wouldn't provide a boy to their husbands were considered broken, which is ironic nowadays, considering that genetically speaking, the man is the one who defines the fetus gender. After the things I pointed, how come women weren't tired and disgusted of being treated that way? Some of them were. The point is, they were the minority. The other parcel of women are not to blame though. They all grew up thinking their role was to please their husband's wishes. Self-respect wasn't even a priority. It isn't easy to realize something is wrong when you've known it as the right thing for so long. I find it obvious that never talking about sex and not knowing about my own body is way too problematic and depressing. Nevertheless, this was not their case. In fact, middle-class women in particular were proud of how little they knew about the topic, about their own bodies. Besides the lack of knowledge cited above, the basic human instinct was denied by the standards of the era for women: sex. The only acceptable relationship between women and sex was for procreation and for the pleasing of their male partner, taking into consideration their beliefs that only men had sexual desires. In order to be pure, girls had to fight their natural unharmful desires. This was profoundly corrupting to both their physical and mental health. Being a woman wasn't and still isn't simple indeed. Lastly, we can conclude that women in the Victorian era were subjected to oppressive standards, and regarding their economic position, they were seen as powerless. By romanticizing such an oppressive period, we are just ignoring and distorting women's realities in the old days. Why forget everything our girls went through back then? Next time you find dresses astonishing, palaces enormous, and hairstyles unique, it would be wiser to say you wish you had all those era things, not that you wish you lived at the time. After all, why would anybody in their right mind give up their own rights, self-knowledge, self-respect, and free will for fancy details?